Welcome to Cardone Debates. I'm super excited about this episode because we have some OG health people in the house. Um, this is going to be kind of a debate. So we do debates every Tuesday at 5. It's a bit of a debate. There's going to be probably some disagreements on this panel, but it's going to be a bit free flowing. So if you guys have questions on, any health topics or things that you want to discuss, then you can write it in the chat and then I will pin your comment and we can ask the experts. Gary,
I'm
happy
so
October 7th.
excited. We're talking health today.
Yeah.
No, I laugh about it. I've been really blessed with great DNA and have treated my body horribly. Been through 13 surgeries. I think this is going to be really interesting for me just to listen to, because I have lost a lot since COVID. I never thought about having fear or concern with a doctor. If you have a DR on your name, I immediately go, okay, look, I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to trust the doctor anymore. I did that too freely before COVID. So this is really timely and a good conversation. I have a doctor and he's a very progressive doctor. I see him for health. I don't see him for, hey man, I'm in trouble. I mean, that's usually when I go see him, but I'm not treating an illness. I'm trying to treat being somewhat healthy. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of doctors I'm very skeptical of as well. The people I have here are like, they really think for themselves. And I've known them for many years. So there's definitely good ones, but it's like, you just have to be really skeptical now.
Yeah.
So,
well, you just do your research and verify. So let's introduce these fine people.
Dr. Molly Maloof.
Hi, Dana. How's it going?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. I actually agree with you, Gary, on not trusting doctors. I left the mainstream medical system early in my career and started practicing what I thought was perfect world medicine, basically trying to optimize health instead of just fix sickness. And today, most of my career revolves around precision medicine, where I do hyper-personalized care for individuals who want either optimal health or they want a problem solved. I'm not a normal doctor, so don't box me into the category of everybody else. I was trained as an MD, but I use many different tools in the toolbox to help people get healthier.
Yeah, no, look, I just think, I'm actually glad I brought it up that way because I think it's something that a lot of people aren't talking about, and we should. The same hammer I'll drop on the doctors is a group of people or industry, and I understand their politics in every industry. The same can be said. My doctor told me, because I asked him about the vax, and he said, "Bro, what are you doing? No way. He's much younger than me.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, after that, though, he told me that over 50% of the people that he told exactly the same thing to me still took it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the doctor. I don't want to hammer on your industry. Okay.
In
It is
California,
the human being has been irresponsible for their own health.
Yeah, but in California, they were threatening to take your license away if you would not recommend the vaccine. So it was like you either get vaccinated and recommend it, or you can get in real trouble. And there are people who did get in trouble, and that's what really started to scare me about medicine was when there was so much industry driven threatening of independent doctors. And at the end of the day, it's a relationship between you and your patient should be your relationship. And now there's so many middlemen, and it's really destroyed that doctor-patient relationship and really caused so much distrust in the system.
Agreed. We're going to bring up Misha.
What's up, Misha? Misha has the color. He's also very, very smart guy, very entertaining. I'm super happy you made it, Misha.
Thanks for having me, Dana and Gary. Really appreciate it. So to your point, do we trust doctors anymore? I think, coming from, the functional medicine background, my father's, his name's Dr. Mark Hyman. He's probably one of the top medical professionals out there right now. You're able to see a lot of these people are really kind of almost being driven towards fame. So social media is their game versus actually helping their clients understand the science that much. And Dr. Molly Maloof is someone that I've known for a few years, and she's probably one of the top people in the space. Precision medicine, I think, is where medicine is going, but holistic medicine, functional medicine is where a lot of these doctors who are in the know have about a 20-year, 30-year kind of head start on a lot of these Western medicine practitioners. And not to be, too pushy with the whole Maha movement, but you're seeing a beautiful kind of coalesce, kind of connection of America, where we're having the former far left kind of hippies, crunchy granola, who understand the science, the tech, the holistic philosophy of medicine, are now we're seeing with the keep your data movement and keep your health movement, and with really taking back your health with Maha, we're now getting a cross bipartisan, a kind of libertarian far right approach to medicine, which I didn't think we were going to have for like 100 years. So now we have a moment, I would say, in the next 2 to 3 years to have these deep level conversations, understand the science, bring experts to the forefront to really have these, kind of hard conversations where, science and medicine is not where it should be. But if we come together with these top brands, these top, medical practitioners and scientists, we can actually find a lot of these comprehensive solutions that seem not that, comprehensive.
Thanks, Misha. Misha's also a celebrity chef. I've been to some of his events before. He's like really good cook. Whose phone is beeping?
My eyes at the pig.
Is that your Misha? Is that your phone?
Nope. I'm on do not disturb on every device.
Okay.
I think it was Misha because I muted her and it stopped it. So
I haven't gotten a text since 4:58. So it's not me.
I got I had to shut off my iMessages, so I just did that.
That's okay.
Not me,
We know you're
not
very
me.
important. Everybody wants your attention, so we can't get mad about that. Hey, Dustin.
This has got to
Thanks
be
for coming.
perhaps the funniest panel we've ever put together. You have the paragons of health in myself and Gary Cardone talking to the health experts. So I'm glad we have a lot of balance here. It's very strong. It's funny, Chef Misha. So for me, I come from like right-wing politics, Breitbart, Bannon, Newt Gingrich. And yet I met RFK working on the movie Vaxxed, helping with the marketing of that movie, and kind of came up in the health freedom movement.
Right.
As well. I've always kind of seen this natural overlap that was like just begging to occur as far as, right, once you start questioning things, and I'm glad Carrie brought up COVID, because I think to a lot of people, that was the wake-up call of, well, maybe my doctor is just pushing what he's told to push on me. I've been able, as part of my involvement in the Maha movement, to get to know tons of the freedom doctors, people like my friend Dr. Kirk Moore, who was pardoned at the very last minute for giving saline injections instead of the vaccine to people who asked for it.
Wow.
Prosecuted in Utah. Shout out to Dr. Moore, who's become one of my really.
Oh yeah, friends. I'm very familiar with that. Of course, absolutely.
Dr. Sabine and so many. I mean, there really are a bunch of standout doctors. But I'm with Gary. I reached a point where I've instructed my family, I'm not going to a hospital unless it's an ambulance emergency, right? So unless it's something where I'm going to die imminently, I have very little trust or interest in going to see the doctor. And then that's one. And then two, what I think is really interesting, and thank you so much for joining us. Should I call you Dr. Molly or Dr. Maloof?
Oh, you're muted. Or we can't hear you.
Be respectful, Dr. Dustin. Professor Dustin. Molly, you're muted, sweetie.
So muted.
Uh-oh, we can't hear.
Oh, no,
yeah,
they've already
free.
removed the good doctors again.
Try one more time.
Worst case, Molly, you could just rejoin again on that link.
Dr. Molly, just send me a prescription for everything.
Yeah.
Load me up, baby. Let's
Right,
roll.
just one of each, please, and I'll keep good care of it. But I'm really glad that we also have a chef on board, because something else I've learned is that Buendo is what plants crave, and that a diet consisting only of Red Bull and cigarettes will get you through the day, and olive food is definitely good and healthy as you get it from the grocery store. It's actually mind-boggling to think about when you start digging into how many of our foods make us unhealthy and don't provide us with the energy and nutrients in order for us to be acting in any kind of way that is close to optimal. And I will admit, while I know a bunch of really healthy people, I am that Red Bull and cigarette guy. And right, I like Gary am been very blessed with good genes, but I'm also starting to get to the age where I'm not nearly as invincible as I was 5-10 years ago, and have started to take this a little bit more seriously. So I could come up with tons of fun questions for both of you guys. Again, even pre-show, Chef Misha was like, let's talk about EMF. And I'm like, oh, bro, let's get some of that. There's health encompasses everything. What's interesting, mental, spiritual, physical, all of those things play into your quality of life. And almost everything you touch, interact with, communicate with has some impact on your health. And so I think this could be a fascinating discussion, especially because I think me and Gary are kind of cynics in a lot of ways to a lot of this stuff. And the last point I want to add, just to kind of frame the argument, is I have this thing I call the red pill pendulum theory. And what it is, we all have a moment for health. I think for a lot of people, it was COVID. I managed to avoid the propaganda campaign. I not only did not get vaccinated, I also never let them stick that thing up my nose cavity to like swab around. But when you have that awakening moment, there's a moment of vulnerability. And so, right, you tend to swing the pendulum where you go to believing everything your doctor tells you or everything you learned in school, and then you don't trust anything. And that's actually a really vulnerable, scary moment for people, because there's a lot of really bad information that was rightfully kept out of traditional medicine, right? Or whatever it is. And I think people end up falling for and being taken advantage of on the other side as well, with miracle cures and other things. And I guess Dane, you mind if I just fire out with one that I'm gonna propose a theory that I have that is probably popular in the counter medicine movement, that I think is kind of a conspiracy in itself. I am worried that ivermectin has been dramatically oversold as a cure to all kinds of different things. And while I don't think it's nearly as dangerous and it's not a horse pace, my question is, my understanding is it's kind of an anti-parasitic, but I think it's being vastly overused and oversold for being a miracle cure to all kinds of things. And I'd love to start the discussion there, because I think it's a good segue into so many other topics.
Molly, can I jump in for 1 second? Do you mind? I think she's still muted.
Molly, I want to make sure that I can hear Molly though. Do you mind unmuting so we can make sure you're good to go? No.
She might have to go on her phone. Honestly, the laptop can get tricky. I'm on my phone, so maybe she has to do her phone, to be honest.
Molly, can you try that? And then I also have some background brief clips of both of you guys that I want to show later. But Molly, if you can try to rejoin or try to join on your phone for audio. Oh, there you
we
go.
got her. Oh, we got her.
Okay.
Don't change anything, Molly.
All right. So ivermectin really quick. So during the pandemic, one of my doctors I work with, his name's Dr. Robin Rose. She has a clinic called Terrain Health, and it was Ridgefield, Connecticut. Now they're in Weston, Connecticut. She's on Chris Cuomo's show at least once a week. They have a Substack together, but she's probably with the leading expert right now on long COVID, on especially ivermectin and how it's supposed to be treated. That being said, there is a mass over kind of propaganda, pro, first of all, initially on the con side for ivermectin, the whole Joe Rogan thing and Sanjay Gupta kind of looking kind of like a fool on this podcast, not able to defend himself in the science. So now we're getting almost like a pushback in this pendulum on the other side where people are too pro ivermectin. They're seeing actually it being as you're saying, nothing's a one kind of one cure, one size fits all cure, really, right? That's why it's precision, customizable medicine. So there is a lot of amazing stuff that ivermectin can do, and I'll let Dr. Molly speak to that a little bit. But I think you're totally right. It's kind of stigmatized now, where it's actually being pushed almost as a right-wing propaganda, where this is the treatment that's going to fix all your problems. And I think once you think that way at all in a health perspective, you're totally screwed. And I think there's a term which me and Molly kind of joke around about. It's called orthorexia. So when people are too strict and too kind of orthodox on a certain diet or certain perspective, they actually can create spikes in their cortisol levels and get their body totally, their hormones really super unbalanced by the stress levels. So imagine, I kind of say to people, go, it's 90-10, right? Do the right healthy stuff 90% of the time. 10% you can have your tequila and your cigarettes and your Red Bull. But if you're going 100%, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, no processed foods, people get mental illness from that, and you see it all the time. And I think ivermectin is kind of in that kind of bell curve where we're seeing it. There is data on it. There is amazing things that it can do for long COVID and treating people with severe gut issues and other, like they're saying it can cure cancer, and you got to get really careful when you have those conversations. But I think it's a topic that, or it's a category of a product that people are at least looking at and talking about. And I think that's a Trojan horse for us to talk about some of these hard hitting issues or controversial issues on a bipartisan level. But I'll let Molly kind of go more into the science of that. But I think overall, it has its benefits, but again, in moderation, right? Going that same with peptides and so on and so forth.
Yeah, Molly, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think ivermectin is kind of the best way to describe it is that it is kind of a Swiss Army knife drug. It does a lot of things. It's known as an antiparasitic. It does have some immunomodulatory effects. It's an anti-inflammatory. So it's not surprising, given that our country is so inflamed, that a bunch of people taking an anti-inflammatory might feel a little bit better. But I think it's kind of a little strange that people are not actually basing their decisions to take these drugs necessarily on total science. Like, there is some evidence that it can help with COVID. There's certainly evidence that it helps with parasites, but there's definitely way more people in this country who think that they have parasites than probably have them. And so I think the bigger question I have is why does the entire country think that they have parasites? There's
why? This is a great, this is a big pitch now, right?
The functional space is really confusing to me because there are so many phenomenal functional doctors on social media that are like, their claim to fame is that they fix parasites, but we have testing for all sorts of different types of pathogens in the body. We have PCR, we have ELISA, we have ways to test for these. We have cultures. And for some reason, in the parasite mythology of this country, it's the one thing that just can't be discovered, can't be found in a test. And I don't know if I buy that. I really think that I'm very empiric by nature. I like measurement. And I think measurements are really crucial before you give people drugs. And there's just a lot of blanket dosing of people for just random ailments without actually doing any diagnostic tests. So I still have some, I don't know. I have issues with both the Maha right and the mainstream left. I think both sides can be really misguided and often are not thinking first principles and thinking measurement and thinking data and evidence and the scientific method. So
I listen, that to me was a really good segue into the broader conversation here, because I think it's important to just recognize that almost no one has it right, because no one has the same health issues or outcomes. That there's so many unique factors because we're all so unique, that environment wise, like our genes, our regular health makeup, our diets, all of those things contribute to make unique specimens on all kinds of stuff. So one size fits all. I get worried because I think my audience in particular, I noticed that it's like, oh, right, like you've got a shoulder sprain, rub some ivermectin on it. I don't think that makes sense, but I'm not a doctor, so I might want to ask.
Well, I mean, I'm not immune to the experimental, medicine. I actually do a ton of experimentation in my practice. So I do think that there is a role of experimentation in medicine, but ideally you do it in concert with a doctor so that you're not flying blind, which a lot of people are. And they're just, there's just a lot of people that are, for example, I'm really interested in the peptide space, and peptides are certainly the future of medicine, but there's a Wild West happening right now where people are just buying random drugs online and then testing them on themselves without actually knowing exactly why they're trying them. And we have no idea what this experiment is going to end up doing to people in a decade. But I think it's fascinating that this COVID epidemic has created such a drive for people to want to investigate their own health. And frankly, I think AI is becoming a lot of people's doctors de facto, which is somewhat scary, because when I ask AI questions about peptides, it gets them wrong a lot. So I would say I'm a little bit concerned about the current state of affairs for the country, but I also think the more that people are actively engaged in their health, and the more that they're actually doing research on their bodies, and they can be informed the best they can, usually the better outcomes they're going to have, because they can at least advocate for themselves more effectively.
I'm curious with you two, because Misha, you're a chef, but I actually feel like I know your answer on this. Would you, Dr. Molly and Misha, would you say, like, if you had to make a list of priorities, are you going to say like environment is like the top, sunlight, what you're being exposed to, or diet? So like, how do you?
Yeah, I'm very bullish on this. Molly, why don't you go first, and I'll kind of, go pretty hard on that.
I've done a lot of research on health from first principles. And I spent about a decade studying food and metabolism. But what I personally believe is that if you just go to the fundamental biological imperative, our bodies are trying to get us to survive first and foremost through collecting food from our environment, nutrient substrates, in order to actually generate energy. Without that, we don't live. So that's pretty darn important, right? And at the same time, a big driver of health is also the drive to reproduce. And so the drive to fall in love, to make a family, the drive to have sex, fall in love, to become attached, that is also a huge driver of health that a lot of people overlook. So I'd say like there's two core pillars that you have to get right. And the first is your air, your water, your food. And the second is your environment. So it's the people you surround yourself with. Arguably more importantly than the city you're in is the kind of people that you surround yourself with, because they're going to have a huge impact on your food choices. They're going to have a huge impact on your lifestyle, on where you live, on your mental well-being. And one of the biggest paths to dis-ease is poor quality relationships. So I've really spent a ton of time on these two categories, because I think they're the closest thing we have to a strong theory of health.
I have never heard a doctor, thank you very much for that, talk about the environment of other people around them. That is very cool. That's first principle stuff. And this is my problem with medicine. I've given, I just break stuff and show up and they fix it and move on. Well, let me just share it. Like, do you guys think that human being? I do a lot of reading about history a long time ago. Are human beings living shorter lives than we did 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago? Like, I read these stories about human beings living for long periods of time, long periods of time ago.
Well,
I mean,
really quickly, the issue on that also is,
I'm just trying to level set, because I think probably most people were like me, pretty stupid about this. Is the human body form designed to live only 86 years or so, or has it been, have we harmed ourselves in a way and actually contracted that? And the reason I'm asking, I believe that like my whole life, I've seen people put a lot of attention on what they're putting in their body, drinking coffee or cigarettes, or drinking, and I'm like, dude, my life's too short. I ain't gonna worry about any of that shit. Like I just don't want to die. Okay, don't do anything that's so stupid that. But
Well, every
I'm
time
really,
you smoke a cigarette,
just.
you're kind of
Pardon me?
killing yourself. Like every time you smoke a cigarette, you just have to think about it like this. There's certain things that build energy into the body, and there's certain things that drain energy from the body. And so there's positive ions and there's negative ions. Negative ions are good for you, right? So like being outside in the forest is like great. Being by water is great. You're getting natural energy from the earth just by being outside. Sitting in the sun, getting natural energy. Grounding your feet, getting natural energy. But if you breathe smoke in, smoke is positive ions. Smoke is oxidatively stressful. So every time you inhale smoke, and every time you drink alcohol, you're just using your energy capacity to detoxify. And so you're just draining some of your life force. So it's like, what is giving you energy and what is taking it away? And look, I'm all for people spending the money that they save, because your energy in your body is kind of like a bank account. And like, if you want to spend it, like, great. You just don't want to end up broke. And the problem is that by halfway through your life, a lot of people's mitochondrial function, which are the powerhouses of the cells that actually make the energy in the form of ATP, by midlife, a lot of people's energy capacity is about 50% what it used to be when they were young, which means they start losing organ reserve. They start losing energy capacity to maintain the integrity of the body. And that's when diseases start to emerge. So that's when you start seeing people get higher blood sugar and higher blood pressure and higher cholesterol. All of those are reflections of a metabolism losing its ability to maintain its normal set points. So I have a very different perspective on disease, because I believe that the vast majority of what kills people, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and dementia, are all preventable through changing your lifestyle, changing the people you spend your time with, changing the food that you eat, changing the way you think, changing where you live, and ideally just getting rid of a lot of the toxins around you. But these are all metabolically driven diseases. And if you just focus on what drives healthy metabolism, you're going to end up with a healthier body. And if you want to use your metabolism to poison yourself, I believe in human autonomy. You can do that. It's just the question we need to ask ourselves is, what kind of responsibility does society have to people who choose to live an unhealthy lifestyle versus a healthy lifestyle? A lot of the reasons why people live an unhealthy lifestyle is specifically because they have unresolved pain and trauma from their childhoods and their families that they don't know how to resolve. And so these dopamine driven habits and behaviors like drinking, like smoking, like promiscuous sex and gambling, these are all diseases of disconnection from one's core.
Mazel tov. Great point. Can I just jump in for 1 second on that? So yeah, addiction is really interesting. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gabor Mate and his work. He's probably one of the leading thinkers and doctors out there for PTSD, trauma, anxiety, addiction. And his theory is kind of what Molly was just mentioning, is that the root cause of all addiction stems from a childhood trauma. And it relates into a codependency. And a lot of people create codependent coping mechanisms to help deal with that trauma. Me personally, with a father who was a celebrity doctor, always had macrobiotic, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, no processed foods, no high fructose corn syrup in the house. I developed the eating disorder. My sister and I both were bingers. I emotionally eat, and it's really interesting. Your environment does dictate the rest of your life and how you rewire and help yourself, and I think, or heal yourself. And that's we'll maybe get into it later, but like psychedelic medicine, ketamine, ibogaine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, some of these treatments that they're doing now clinically, in the US with studies, but also internationally, is to heal that baseline core trauma. So once you get that core trauma healed, then it's much easier to get healthy. But if we're trying to reverse engineer, kind of heal our outside before we heal our inside, it's very hard for a lot of people. So you mentioned, Dana, just to answer your question, what are kind of the pillars, or what's the most important thing in health? My 4 pillars, including relationships, my 5 pillars are your environment. Just to sidebar on that, as Molly was saying, you're more likely to be fat and out of shape if your friends are fat and out of shape than your parents are. You're more likely to actually, you're basically the aggregate of the 5 closest people around you. That's what she was basically saying, is if your friends are making healthy choices, you're going to go for a hike, you're going to go for a trip that's going to be health oriented versus going to Vegas and doing strippers and gambling. But the 4 pillars I really believe are so crucial, for our health, and it's really KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, right? Is sleep. If you don't sleep well, everything else doesn't matter. You'll be suffering. Your mitochondrial, health will be, demoralized, and you just will suffer across the board. Nutrition. If you can't really work your way out, like work out your way out of a bad diet. So what my dad always says in lectures, it takes 7 miles a day, 7 days a week of running 10 miles a day to work off one Big Mac burger, right? So that's one thing. Movement is very important. Yoga, exercise, just getting your body movement is so important. And then your environment, yes, relationships. But really, to your point, Molly, you think not a lot of people have parasites. I think you're completely wrong. I think if you look at the studies, about 80% of Americans who have dogs in their houses have some type of parasite. And most Americans who travel and eat, pretty toxic fish and salmon at Costco, it's pretty, tremendous if you actually do real, and not a lot of people are getting tested for parasites, right? So it's hard to really say that. But I think, yeah, just sleep, nutrition.
How do you get tested? I didn't think there was a test.
There's a lot of
threw a bunch of stuff at it.
That's what
no, there's a lot. Sorry, Molly. You want to go into that, Molly?
A mainstream test is called O&P, ova and parasite. But in general, parasites are difficult to catch because they they tend to try to evade the immune system. That being said, I have ran so many parasite tests on myself and I've yet to find any parasites. And so it's like, I think I eat a lot of raw fish. I eat a lot of raw meat. I'm really into I make crudo like every week. I make filet and I eat like literally wild game raw. So I probably do have parasites, but I've never found any on any of the testing I've tried to find. And I've done thousands of dollars of testing to see if I can find something. And for some reason, I just can't.
That's a really great point, Molly. And this is maybe we're going to get in the debate section.
Molly's a perfect specimen. We finally found one.
Well, no, actually, I think this is a great point to highlight is the tests. Most of the tests out there are pretty inferior. Most of the diagnostic technology out there is pretty inferior. Quest Lab, getting lab tests, to see your overall, your biomarkers and portfolio, terrible.
I went to Arma Labs. I did Vibrant Health.
But Molly, debate. The debate starts now. The debate starts now. I've been trying to connect you with Amp Coil, an anti-aging bed that has the best diagnostic technology in the world. It's a voice diagnostic technology, uses frequency voice diagnostics. I'll send you some research on here afterwards. So you can post the studies that will pinpoint all of your parasites. I'll have John do it for you later. You didn't do John's technology. You didn't do John's bios. You could not have done John Baxter's bioscan
last week.
That's not the bioscanner. Right. And the voice analysis, that's only half of it. So
I did what you told me to do.
No. I told you to call John Baxter, do the bioscan. So this is really a good segue. So all the diagnostics we have right now are probably 20, 30 years in the past of just, bad science. Now we have this company called Saber Science, which actually uses saliva, 4 swabs throughout the day. Because the blood test only takes a timestamp of that time of day, like in the morning. So let's say in the morning you fasted, or you have low blood sugar. It's going to show different levels of hormones and overall levels. But over it's 12 hours, over 4 swabs over 12 hours, you send it into Saber Science. They actually give you a perfect profile, shows you exactly what's going on with you. And then now you have this new voice analysis, voice diagnostic technology mixed with this frequency diagnostic tech, which is what they've been doing in Russia for the past 30 years. The KGB has been doing this. They're now using this in hospitals. This would actually show every single bit of your parasites and your acute inflammation in the body. So maybe next week we'll get you dialed. You didn't do it. You didn't do it with John Baxter, an anti-aging bed.
So
it's impossible. You didn't. You had to be there in person in Orlando. So it's impossible.
Okay.
I want to propose a counter theory here. This is the Gary and Dustin solution to parasites.
Okay, the floor, Dustin.
Our cigarettes, whiskey, and gambling, the parasites can't handle it. Like we can handle it. The parasites, though, we smoke those things out, by living good.
I love it.
Gary? I think that.
What do you think, Doctor? Does that work? What do you guys think?
I do not know. I mean, from my experience in general, the more drugs and more irresponsible behaviors you do, the less your immune system functions. So the less you can defend yourself against infection and the more likely you're going to get sick from things. But I mean, that's just general. That's generally what you see in medicine.
my immune system has been trained the hard way, like Rocky
Dustin,
in the
Dustin,
training montage.
Dustin, the truth is you believe you're above it. You do. No, seriously though, Dr. Molly,
out of a lot of problems, actually.
What's that?
Your mind is very powerful. You can actually, like, if you really do
This is what I wanted to ask you.
yourself,
Have you
believe
met
you're healthy, you will be healthier.
Have you met patients who defy the logic of how they live versus
100%.
totally?
Totally. I've worked with
this is hugely important to the audience to me.
And I'm like, there's no reason why you guys are this healthy. And the only thing that can explain it is that they have just an intense sense of purpose.
My doctor looks at my blood test and he's always like, dude, really, dude? Because he knows the truth.
Yeah.
And then he looks at the blood and he's like, how do you get away with this shit?
Yeah. I mean, I think having a deep sense of purpose is actually something that people miss in the health piece. Like Warren Buffett eats McDonald's and drinks Coke all day long. And he's like super purpose driven. Clearly is not going on the treadmill anytime soon. Trump alone, look, this guy does not look like he eats that healthy. And yet he's kicking, like the guy is just a powerhouse. And so I asked myself, why is it that there's certain people that seem to defy all the rules of health? And I think it has to do with the energy of everybody. Like life is energy plus information plus structure, right? That's the formula of life. But like all of life's purpose is to express its full potential, like a seed in a tree, right? Like I'm standing, there's like redwoods right in front of me. That starts as this tiny seed of potential. We start as this tiny little embryo of potential. And our entire purpose of existence is to like express all of that potential. So the people who are living their purpose and expressing their full capacity, I see them often have ridiculously better health outcomes.
All right.
Yeah.
So, well, really quick. So,
spiritual health.
Well, I think that's more mindset, right? And that's more emotional health, and that's more how you compartmentalize and handle, tough situations, and how you deal with trauma and chaos. But just really quickly, like to say Trump is healthy and Warren Buffett's healthy, I just got to call BS on that. They're probably living at 25% capacity, and they probably, yes, they are mission driven. They do have mindset, and that's really important. It does, so your physiology and your chemistry are different in your brain, right? So your chemistry is kind of how, the science that comes in your, what's that?
I haven't seen their labs, so I can't be a judge of that, but.
You
didn't
say they were healthy.
Hold on. This
they
is
were
where
monster producers.
No,
That's different.
She
said they were very productive.
No, you said, do people have terrible lifestyles? That wasn't the question. If they can be productive. Anybody can be productive. Trump's on Provigil.
I only care about being productive, dude.
That's fine. I
don't want to be look Misha, because production. Hold on 1 second, please. So Molly said, hey, look, your life is created when the seed comes together. I actually think if we go back to it, the life is created from the passion of the two people that had this purpose first. Okay, without the passion, because like if I spend all my time thinking about what I'm gonna eat, my passion's done, dude. I have no passion about worrying about what I'm gonna eat. I am a machine. That's it. I am a machine, a spiritual entity with a machine. I just need some fucking fuel. Mm-hmm. That's all I need. I need to get there and hopefully not have too much noise inside my body so I can perform my activity. I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of trauma sitting in my body, whether it's emotional or wrecks or pain or surgeries or whatever. I cannot worry about that all day, every day. What I do have to do, like there has to be some drugs or plants or something that eases some of the inflammation. Like you're not going to remove 13 surgeries.
What should you?
The fucking trauma's there, man. So to me, my pain shows up less when I have purpose. For instance, I did about 2.5 grams of mushrooms recently. And I had zero pain in my body. Now, I do not understand why I can do a macro dose.
Mushrooms and immunomodulator.
Can I just finish the question for the audience? Because there's a lot of people in the room listening. So I found it fascinating because I've taken Advil my entire life. Look, everybody said, don't take it. Dude, I've taken 8 Advil my whole life, 20, 30 years, just because of the trying to remove the pain, right? For 8 hours, I stood up and painted. Zero pain in any joint. And I was like shocked. It's lasted 20 hours too. Now that I find stunning. Now explain that to me, because that tells me that my body is actually capable of at least pushing this stuff out. Nothing changed in my body except that I took that 2.5 grams. That's
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's a really great point, and glad that you mentioned that. So, functional fungi, it's lion's mane, chaga, reishi, the other ones that are not the psilocybin, but all mushrooms serve as immunomodulators. So what that means is they kind of go into your
Immune
body,
modulators.
immunomodulators, right? So basically, it means they go into your body, whatever your body is in need at that one point. Let's say you have some skin issues or gut issues or some brain fog or brain issues. It'll actually adapt to each person differently and almost heal the body. So interestingly enough, with psilocybin, they're finding a lot of studies and research that it actually, yes, of course, it fixes synapses and helps the brain deal with trauma and tremendous that way, but also helps with people with severe inflammation in the body and acute tears, in ligaments. So I worked with a couple NFL players. One of them with a tore his shoulder in 4 places, did 28 grams of psilocybin in a 1 week period, was totally healed in 1 week. So you're actually seeing people, like, for example, I sprained my ankle playing basketball 3 years ago, took like a high dose chocolate supplement in LA, was walking the next morning. So you're actually finding out a lot of inflammatory properties from functional fungi. And I think for you, if you have a lot of chronic health issues or chronic pain, I'd love to talk to you, because there's supplements like Stem Regen, high vibe mushrooms is a non-psychedelic one I would every day add into your routine. Collagen. There's a lot of things you can just really just supplement and not overdo on the vitamins, but they can actually help you. And I really believe, from a functional nutrition perspective as well as functional medicine perspective, tying in the non-inflammatory foods. If you want to drink, you want to smoke, that's fine. But the high grains, the high carbs, the breads, the pastas. If we can dial that down and make that a almost like a recreational drug, you'll see a lot of progress in your inflammation. And there's like PMF mats and frequency, devices we can hook you up with that, super, super simple. And I don't know if you hyperbaric chamber, but there's a lot of ways we can actually get your body back to, homeostasis where you're not feeling the pain of all these surgeries. And, stem cells now, you've seen a lot of amazing things.
The psilocybin has multitude of effects beyond just immunomodulatory actions. It's a partial agonist at 5-HT2A receptors. So this is involved with both pain and mood regulation. And we know that a lot of chronic pain has a component of central sensitization, where the more you feel pain, the more your brain becomes sensitive to pain. And so it can actually disrupt those pathways and help create new pathways through neuroplasticity. So in order for us to actually change
Neuroplasticity, can you define that for the audience?
Sure. It's the ability to essentially sprout new neural connections. And we didn't really know much about this, 10 years ago. But when the psychedelic revolution really started in about 2020, really that was the year when really stuff started to hit. Mm-hmm. Everybody was really fascinated by the effects of psychedelics on neuroplasticity. And funnily enough, I actually had a client who developed post-oral contraceptive, after she went off of birth control, she developed a terrible vulvodynia, which was pain in her vaginal region. And what she discovered was that none of the mainstream medicine was working. None of the doctors or specialists or experts. So she came to me and we talked about it. And she goes, "What do you think about psilocybin?" And I said, honestly, given that you've tried everything else, it's not going to hurt. It's worth a test. I think you should do it with a clinical therapist. So she did, and it completely eliminated her pain. And, there's so much more research we need to do on this, but I do believe that like psychedelics for chronic pain are 100% going to be within the repertoire of doctors in the next 20 years.
Wow. Do you really think so? Because I don't think there's any money in it.
Well, there's money in the service.
There's no money in it.
So one of my friends, Jonathan Sporn, founder of Gilgamesh, a company that developed a non-hallucinogenic antidepressant based on psychedelic neuropharmacology, sold his company for $1.5 billion to AbbVie. So there's definitely money in especially the non-hallucinogenic psychedelic medicines, which are likely going to end up being the ones that make it to the forefront. It's not going to be people tripping in a doctor's office. It's going to be you taking a drug that just gives you a slightly better day, that in the background is building the neuroplastic state and creating these anti-inflammatory and immunomodulatory effects.
So Chef Misha, I want to challenge that a little bit. So I'd venture to guess I've taken more hallucinogens than everybody on the panel combined.
I don't know, Justin.
Allegedly in
I don't
Minecraft.
know, Justin. I built a psychedelic.
Um,
I actually
but-
built a pharmaceutical company in psychedelics, so I was doing a fair amount of. I shouldn't say this on
Self-
R&D, R&D, R&D.
yeah, no, listen,
R&D.
Everybody raise their hand if they've done psychedelics. I have not actually.
No?
What?
No, I actually
What about the
have not.
Awaken?
What? Excuse me. What do you say?
What about the Awaken? Didn't I give you a celebrity chocolate?
Yes, you did.
You did,
yes,
never took
I
it.
remember
Never-
that supplier. Yes, I did not take it though.
Good.
it's all
Like,
coming out
Dustin,
now.
you want to try it?
But so my question about like some of the rerouting, we kind of talked about trauma as being some of the baseline, and so I often end up being the Karen in this and warn people. I don't think most people should take mushrooms. I don't think most people should hallucinate. In most cases, I think that it's. I've seen people get wildly different results because we don't have any control. And so like as far as dosing goes, as far as what's going to be useful, but I have seen people process through things that they can't get through. I wonder if you'd have the same benefit if you removed the hallucinatory aspect.
In terms of
Can you isolate
well,
that, guys? Is that possible?
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't believe this was going to work initially because I really believed that you needed to get the full psychedelic experience. But I agree with you, Dustin. I don't think most people should be tripping on 5 grams of mushrooms. I think it's quite dangerous, in fact, for people to experiment with these without proper supervision. There's actually some genetic mutations that you should check for, including the DISC1 gene that can predispose you to schizophrenia. So I've actually been able to see in my clients, like those who do not do well with psychedelics tend to have this genetic mutation. So I think there's a website called selfdecode.com. And I encouraged the founder to build a psychedelic screening tool because I said, there's too many people who are just taking these drugs without knowing if they're at risk for getting psychosis. And I know people who are full blown have schizoaffective disorder that they probably never would have had if they hadn't had an enormous amount of like LSD in their teenage years. So I don't think they are perfectly safe, but I do think that there is the ones that are being developed that are non-hallucinogenic products for example, the AbbVie acquisition of Gilgamesh. I do think that these pharmaceuticals, like I really think that we're going to see a golden age in psychiatric medicine because of these new drugs coming out. And I think they're going to be a lot safer than SSRIs and a lot safer than antipsychotics. So I'm very bullish that there's going to be a lot of great medicines coming from this research.
Molly, you know that's originally how I met you, through like 10 years ago when I was working on that company with Joe's company, Self Decode.
No way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And we had that healthy house with like the red lights and my hyperbaric and sun and all that. I remember I was like, this, you are like going to blow up, and you did. Like you already were very big.
I mean, not that, I'm just getting started.
Yeah, I know you are, but that was a crazy time.
That was a wild time.
And I'm curious what you think about these genes that make people susceptible, because like I remember we did a lot of experimentation around that time. We were doing methylene blue, like a long time ago. I was like dumping it on myself and getting serotonin sickness and
oh,
you
no.
know, and then some like I was more sensitive to my environment, I think. I think that was part of the issue. And I think maybe that makes me more susceptible to the hallucinogens. So for example, would you say somebody who's like sensitive to environmental toxins or like doesn't do weed very well, you know, I'm more likely
if you don't do weed very well, that's a pretty
my
good
mom doesn't either. So like if people know that, then are they on the high risk, and like what genes should you be testing to know if you're like
there's like about 10 of them, and Joe's done a great job at putting together such an incredible website. And I don't get paid to say this, I just really like it. But for a consumer, because 23andMe got shut down, or I guess bankrupt,
I remember that
bankrupted. Because of that, it's been really hard for consumers to get access to their DNA. And 23andMe was offering a really good service, but now I actually send a lot of people to self-decode for their initial screening, just because it's cheap and it's really effective. You can get a lot of information from it.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine like a lot of that just continues to change as well. So, like the more people
It's
that
getting cheaper and faster to do full genetic sequencing. I'm actually building a precision medicine company, essentially an N of one biotech company around a single patient right now. And so we're doing a ton of research on genetics and rare diseases.
What do you think, just changing gears really quick, because you guys both brought up oxidative stress and mitochondria.
I jump in one thing because Molly said something that I just made my debate radar go off. So there's not really a real and there's, you can look, look in all your research, but there's not really a real correlation to if you don't take cannabis well, that you're not going to take mushrooms well. They're completely independent products. But what's happening is the people who take cannabis, they usually get they have severe anxiety already, so it makes them more anxious, more paranoid. And the thing about these medicines, so to speak, is the people who have really bad experiences and bad trips, it's almost all about them not wanting to see the other side of their psyche, their reality, the dark side. So people who have bad trips, it's not so much chemical than it is spiritual, right? And there are some people that do have chemical reactions, they're allergic, that is real. But part of why people who not everyone should be doing psychedelics is it's a spiritual journey, right? If you're not ready and willing to do the work and you see what you're supposed to not ready to see, that's when people have bad trips and kind of psychotic breaks. Yes, people have early onset schizophrenia, predispositions that can definitely trigger it, as well as cannabis. But actually, psilocybin, especially, I would say people who have treatment-resistant depression, severe anxiety, PTSD, or depression, that's what it's used for. Not just for people that want to, go on a wedding, bachelor party with their friends, and they'll trip at a doctor's office. So like, there are ceremonies, people do amazing ceremonies, in communities. But if you have a severe, mental health issue based on those kind of aforementioned, cognitive health, issues, that's what it's pretty much used for. And it is one of the best things out there for treatment-resistant depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Ibogaine included. So just wanted to say that.
I mean, that's a good point. I'm gonna ask another question though along that lines. Like, aren't there genes though and predispositions that show you that you're more likely to get those illnesses because you have leaky blood-brain barrier, or like certain genes that are turned on and off based on your environment, who you're spending your time with, etc. So therefore, actually, it is like biological. It's not just
genetics slows the gene, but environment pulls the trigger. So if you have a predisposition to psychosis and then you have a really bad trip, you can get stuck in a psychotic break. You can come back from it. I know people who've returned from a year of psychosis. Yeah.
Yep.
I know people who've had like a full-blown year of having to be supported, and then they were able to recover their mind. But I wouldn't recommend that.
Can I just say though, for the audience, I think the safety factor on the drugs we're talking about are unparalleled by anything any pharmaceutical company has ever developed.
Right.
It's far safer. And I'm worried that what we're hearing here is, hey, look, people are going to, I don't know anybody that went on a psychotic break. I'm not in the field. I also don't know anybody that's stupid enough to take 4 grams of mushrooms and then go party. That is not what I'm talking about. Okay. You don't do 4 grams of mushrooms and hang out with anybody. You want to have a psychotic break?
Mm-hmm.
I'm more likely to run into the wrong fucking girl for 20 years this trip's only going to last 8 hours, man. Okay. So in fact, I would take my experience has been so relieving, and I've been through about as many wars as I know of anyone. Yeah. I wouldn't stick a drug in my body if I'm depressed before I tried mushrooms, because the long-term effects of mushrooms is -0. I will not die. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to get a speed. I'm not going to drive. Like, I need the right environment and the right intentions. Just like life, the intention of what I'm doing. Am I trying to have a party, or am I trying to become better, more me, discover myself? Because you said it in the very beginning. Hey man, if my mind's right, my body's going to have a greater likelihood of being right. You're literally telling me that it's more important how I think than what I eat. And I agree with that. That is a first principle, because I'm going to eat well. Now, check this out, though. If my mind's good, I'm going to put good fuel in my body because I'm going to reject it. Like, I eat very little. Y'all not talking about this food, but like, I eat 2 meals a day max.
That's all you really
And
need.
exactly.
all
Okay.
you really need.
Everybody's all worried about what they're ingesting. I eat 6, 7 cups of coffee. I'm not going to stop it. There's no
I
chance
think
of me stopping the coffee. And
Coffee's a great source of polyphenols.
yeah,
And
Get them on
whatever,
Rom roasts.
right?
Yeah.
But I do think it comes back to right here, my intention. What am I doing? And I don't think there's I mean, I think the survey, and y'all are the doctors, but the survey analytics say there's not one psychotic break out of 1,000. I mean, it's small.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very pro psychedelic medicine, and I'm also, having worked in the industry for at least 5 years, and seen everything from the pharmaceutical side to the underground, to the above ground, to the great black market. Like, I've seen it all. I've talked to everybody in the industry, and there is a belief that it is that it is a fairly safe drug. And I do think that they are, but I think I think when you see an industry in its entirety, and you see that they're actually, typically the people in the industry are the people that are probably overusing these medicines. So you tend to see more of the of the negative outcomes, because you just see the people who are using enormous amounts of psychedelics. But that being said, SSRIs can cause massive effects on human relationships and health and the sex drive, especially of women. And I really worry
the life
about
drive, right?
the life drive. Like, I worry about all these women in this country that have been told that this is just what they're really. Like, I was talking to a patient yesterday. She was talking about how her doctor gave her SSRIs, and she's like, I think I was just going through perimenopause. I mean, I just needed hormones. And it was like these patients, I mean, a whole decades of women have been misguided, being told that, oh, it's just in your head, take an SSRI, when really what we've done is we listened to the Women's Health Initiative, ignored the fact that, like, hormones have been used safely in women for many decades around the world, and somehow decided, because of one study that was poorly conducted, that these drugs are somehow deeply unsafe for women, or are going to cause everyone to get cancer. And that's just not true. And so I think we need to vastly reduce the prescriptions of SSRIs. We know that they have a black box warning for young people. We know that kids are more likely to kill themselves when they consume them. And yet these are still on the market, and still one of the most widely consumed drugs in the world. I think microdosing does work. We need better research on it, but, like, I think it'd be a much safer path for anybody who's interested in experimenting with psychedelics to try microdose before they do anything higher than that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Also, like, there's so few doctors that are open to this sort of thing, because they're all worried about their losing their license or saying something that's, like, unregulated. So it's, like, pretty rare to find the right doctors who are open to that sort of thing. I want to know what you guys' like daily routine are. Just generally, like, what are your have to do? Like, you always get X amount of, like, micronutrients every day of XYZ. Like, what's the most important thing?
Well, that I eat enough. Like, sometimes I like to get at least a couple meals in a day, and maybe a smoothie. I like to get my supplements in. I like to do, if I didn't have so many morning meetings right now, I prefer to I almost always take a walk in the morning and do some meditation. Oral health is really, really important. And probably one of the most important things is taking care of your mouth and brushing your teeth, flossing.
Talk about teeth.
It's
We
so
had
important.
whole teeth spaces the
So,
other
like,
day
that's
on
something I will not negotiate, is I will not ignore my mouth. Like, that is a definitive, twice a day, brush my teeth, floss, and ensure that I don't mess that up.
Okay, so you get your sunlight in the morning, and then what supplements are you taking right now?
Let's see. I got iron, I've got Prodrome Neuro, Prodrome Glia, B complex, colostrum, magnesium, vitamin D, K1, K2, TA65, which is one of my favorite supplements for lengthening telomeres. It's derived from astragalus, vitamin C, and NAD, spermidine.
Okay. What do you think about you guys are both talking about your mitochondria and your oxidative stress. What's the best thing for lowering oxidative stress and then for improving mitochondrial health? Like I have these that I just lay around and I carry them around in my purse. So I just take them sometimes. These glutathione packets.
Oh, I love
So I just
glutathione.
like, yeah. Do you
I use it. I use
what do
patches
you
a
think?
lot. I use transdermal ion.
Okay.
There's something called ion layer, and I get patches from them, and they do like it's an ionophoresis patch that will it kind of like works about 80% as effective as an IV.
Okay.
I used to be kind of anti IVs, and then I started getting into them, and I realized, holy shit, they work.
I feel good.
They really help. Yeah.
Joe and I remember I got a nurse to come over to give us IVs and like we couldn't go in the house or something. So I have this photo, I'll send it to you. It's like me, Joe, and then this other guy we were working
Love
with
it.
in the car. And then the nurse was on the outside giving us all IVs, like
Oh
while
my
we're
God.
and the IV bar is like outside. We're in the parking lot.
That's
It
amazing.
that looked like a weird drug situation, but it wasn't. It was just IVs, nutritional IVs, vitamin C. Gary, you're muted. We
Can we
lost
switch
you.
gear? Yeah, let's switch gears just a little bit. Like y'all mentioned EMF and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's where I was going to.
Misha.
Is there any where's the ringing coming from? Like, where am I crazy? But ringing has started in my life and it's getting louder.
Tinnitus?
What the fuck is that about? I have no idea what it is.
So and I've heard Misha bring this up several times. So I am very deep in frequency. In fact, I think that the missing magic, whatever's been hidden from us,
I agree, Dustin.
So much has to do with harmony
Yep.
and balance and frequency. It's right. So I've gone very deep into bells. I've looked into the Rife machines. I've looked at a lot of the other frequency tech about just because what I get and come to find, and it's very like Buddhist kind of sounding, but like balance is everything, which is we all have give and takes. We all have unhealthy factors and healthy factors. And it's about finding balance and then being at peace with that. And there's something about frequency that is wildly important, in my opinion, about getting us to a point where we feel set and balanced and at peace and at harmony with the surroundings around us. And this gets into the moving music off the God frequency to a very disorienting frequency that it feels like we are constantly, and especially when you're doom scrolling, that your frequency is being bombarded with things that are disruptive, disjointed, and chaotic. And then you find everything else around you is in the same place. How far have we come on resonance and frequency? And Misha, I've heard you bring it up several times, so I imagine this is kind of your jam too.
Yeah. So my company, the Biohouse and the Health Warrior Project, we work with all the top people and across the wellness tech, med tech, and kind of overall holistic wellness. And I think the best kept secret in medicine and in biohacking and longevity medicine right now is this company called Anti-Aging Bed. They've been around for 12 years. They basically created the med bed, which you've heard about on sci-fi magazines or comic books since the early 1900s. But basically he's incorporated Tesla's technology, the 369 technology. So Nikola Tesla, he basically said if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So this guy, John Baxter, the founder of Anti-Aging Bed, they have 86 patents, and they basically use the world's greatest, what you're saying, frequency resonance technology in the world. And he basically has made a super souped out Rife machine called the Tesla Plasma, which he actually attaches to a hyperbaric chamber, attaches to the bioscanner, which does all the downloads and uploads of frequencies. And there's like 4 million plus frequencies on the database. So there's things, I might get yelled at for saying this, but there's data behind this, whether it's cancer, autism, even ADHD and certain other, chronic health issues. You can actually correspond the exact frequency to the person and actually upload them to actually heal that abnormality or that health issue. So right now, the number one diagnostic technology in the world is frequency medicine. And I think Molly is someone that once we get her dialed in on the science, could be one of the voices, internationally for this tech. And I'm helping, we work with this magazine called Top Doctor Magazine. They have access to 630,000 doctors. There's 1.3 million doctors in the US. So getting, all these doctors on pace with the cutting edge science is really for me. But yeah, I would say, with the Rife machine, they're showing studies in Europe where they basically are, hitting cancer cells, almost immediately just by using this technology. And now, if you're actually even looking a little deeper with sound, right? Sound is frequency. You're getting all these. If you go into like the music production, you have all these producers change the frequency of the songs to 440 when the healing tone is 432. And they did it on purpose to actually make humans or make the Western, society actually not listen to music and heal, but listen to music and actually get more stressed out. So there are some musicians that actually tune their songs. It doesn't sound any different to 432 hertz, and you actually are using like meditative level tones. So with frequency, you're actually getting, you're replenishing the body, right? You're actually donating electrons where our bodies are depleted of those certain electrons. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be what every hospital really is going to be diving into versus, because you can basically use the frequency, diagnostic technology with the John Baxter's bioscanner, and it actually is more accurate than an MRI or a brain scan. So this is the future of medicine, and I think Molly is someone who once she can be a champion of this, can really be a voice on this technology. And that's one of my goals for her.
Well, I have been working in diagnostics for most of my career. I started as a phlebotomist and lab processor in a hospital, so I still fundamentally believe in labs and blood, urine, hair. I mean, I'm doing all sorts of profiling of the physical body, but I do think there is an interesting amount of research coming out around frequency-based diagnostics, although nothing's really made it to the prime time yet. Like, there's been all this research on detecting dementia, detecting depression, and I've met multiple people running these companies. Most of what I've seen is that's actually been useful in modern medicine is they used a tool for monitoring phone calls to the ER and hospitals. I don't know if this is widespread yet, but they basically were able to determine like if someone was suicidal and besides the fact that people are often depressed and there's a lot of diseases of despair, they were able to kind of predict who would be the biggest risks for suicide and learn how to abort those suicides. So there's certainly some real world evidence on these things. Now, I just recently tested a product from Ampcoil, the makers of Ampcoil, last week on Friday, and they sent me a report on Monday. And I mean, it was an interesting report, but hard to totally say how much of it was based on the frequency and how much was based on the prompt they gave me. Because they literally told me, like, send us a 30-second recording about your health. And so I already gave them a bunch of information besides my voice. And so the funny thing is they said, oh, you're in the top 2% of healthy people. And I was like, come on, like, I'm pretty healthy, but like, am I really in the top 2%? I'm 41 years old.
People are that unhealthy, Molly. People are that unhealthy. So I would say, yeah, you probably are in the top 2%.
But
Gary's
again,
probably in the top 5%.
It's a new device. This guy worked on it for 10 years. I need to learn how he actually made it and what he used to actually determine. Because it's a pretty, I mean, look, there's a whole bunch of people that believe that the future of medicine is quantum medicine. That's going to be way on a complete, it's going to look like medicine today and a few decades from now. We're not there yet. It's not ready for prime time yet. It's getting there. But if it was ready for prime time, I would be already promoting it. I'm in the process of just learning more about it.
Well, I would just add to that point. It's not so much lack of access; it's lack of information.
Yeah.
So there are people who've been doing this for 25 years. There are studies I can have my partner send over the studies. Like, there is a lot of studies out there. And what I do is I help doctors, kind of get on top of the cutting edge technologies, east versus west, ancient indigenous versus, modern tech. But the truth is, like, this is the future. And the truth is, a lot of doctors are where Molly is, and she's probably in the top 1% of people who are informed in modern medicine. So I think this is one of the issues, right? Where, she has to see more data, but the data is already there. So she has to have access to that data, right? So a lot of the people who have great marketing budgets, great, the studies get out to quote unquote prime time. It's because there's special interest groups, there's associations and committees who are funding these to get out there versus actually the best products showing their efficacy. So one of my issues with brands, I work with like over 120 wellness brands. One of the issues I work with is the products that have the best marketing budget and the best make the most money, because they're actually spending almost all their ad spends on Facebook ads and their marketing. But the products that actually have the best product spend almost zero, I mean, a full on zero. And Dana knows some of these guys, zero money on social media and marketing, because they believe if the product's so great, everyone's going to come to them. So that's kind of my job, is to get these people who have the best product to get on these podcasts, get on, these streamlined, mainstream conversations, because the issues that a lot of the people don't know what's going on, because again, it's lack of information, not lack of access to the technologies, which is kind of my
we'll
major
do
thing.
we'll do a follow up then, when after Molly reviews everything. And it is just frequency medicine. It is very difficult to grasp. Like, even someone like me who's like thinks outside of the box, it is like, oh, what, I'm going to listen to, I mean, yeah, I would assume that there has to be like a situation where you experience it and like you see the benefit, and then you continually have more and more research. But as we know, like, research is funded by pharmaceutical companies. So
See,
how much
my
is
push
going
on
on
that.
here? Yeah,
So, Dan, I think we all experience it regularly, right? When you
I
hear,
agree.
when
I
you
agree.
hear a song, there's certain songs that every time I hear them, it absolutely changes my mood and
I agree.
if I'm paying attention to any physical aches or pains or anything else. We all have these like sounds and triggers and other things. My other big thing is like unifying community, right? So I could go on and on about church bells and how it puts us at the same starting point. Like, everybody who's in the proximity of that one bell ringing is starting from the same place, which leads to like better community, unity, and understanding, empathy between people. And right, so it's the most woo-woo thing I believe by far. And yet it's the thing I'm probably most like passionate, and like you just can't shake me off of it. Like, it's frequency, and we all experience it all the time. How many times? Why does nails on a chalkboard cause us physical upset? Like, why are there certain sounds that trigger us in the negative way, and then there's certain sounds that trigger us in the positive way? And how many times do we interact with those things? And how often are we paying attention to, like, how many people are self-aware enough that they're keeping tabs of, you know what, I suddenly had a mood change. And for me, I think especially in the modern world, when I hear other people listening to TikTok, so like, right, the earbud comes out for a minute, and I'm listening to it, it makes me frantic, because it's the sound and the songs and the change and the quickness, like you're blah, 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 and I notice immediately, even 10 seconds if Jen's earphone falls out, that I'm immediately feeling more frantic and on edge. And why do we continue to do that? I think it becomes an addiction thing, where like we end up getting ourselves set in a state that we think that's a normal and natural state, and not breaking out of it. And I'm really, the Rife machine stuff, if you don't know the Rife machine conspiracies, like it is one of the most fascinating and interesting takes ever. Guy invents a machine, it's based on frequency, right? Ends up having all kinds. I know his grandnephew. Anyway, somewhere along the way I got to meet and see like an original Rife machine. I'm glad to know that technology is developing, because I have a feeling if AI is used properly, that it will allow us to unlock what I think are lost technologies. I think frequency is at the heart of it. Harmony, balance. If you look at the ancient religions too, like one thing they have in common, balance, harmony, right? Like resonance. Those are all things that everything is based around, and yet we act like have no impact on us, right? We talked about like the health of what's in your mouth. what's coming into you through your ears
Yeah.
is also right. It's just as important, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, Molly, like you talk about this as well, like really all these supplements and all this stuff. Like, we're not going to get through all the questions that I wrote down today, but it really is like about how your cells are internalizing information and then how they behave and how fast you're getting triggered out of homeostasis and back again. And that's a sign of how quickly your body can repair and how well it can stay in that homeostatic state. So like, if you do break it down, like what was Dustin was saying about how you hear a different frequency, then you have increased cortisol, then you have maybe like your serotonin drops, which is important for digestion, which is important for your brain health and how your brain functions. And then it's like a whole domino effect of like, oh, if you're stuck in this like triggered biological state, then that makes you vulnerable for getting exposed to parasite or a bacteria or something like that. And then
I forgot the most important word.
That makes sense. What?
I forgot the most important word, which is rhythm, right? So like if you look at how the body functions from the cellular level to the macro, right? There is a rhythm to everything. So right, the reason I'm so bullish on frequency medicine is that really like when you watch a bloodstream, I can't help but like think of like how roads look at night sometimes.
Yeah.
And when things are in rhythm, things function. When they get out of rhythm, think about how easy it is to cause backups and clogs and have issues. And so it to me, the rhythm of everything, and it was driving me crazy because when I was talking, I was like, what is the word I'm missing? And it was rhythm. I just wanted to make sure I got it.
Well, light is medicine, and circadian rhythms are actually becoming more and more important to health because we're realizing that we're not supposed to be indoor animals. We're meant to live outside. We are evolved for living outdoors, not indoors. And so our genetics are programmed, are literally the expression of our genes is programmed by light and sound, but light and movement and sound and food and how we live our lives. We epigenetically change the expression of genes based on how we live. And so living indoors is actually probably going to be considered at some point carcinogenic just because there's going to be so little, like we know so much about how light is important for health. We know that shift work is carcinogenic for sure. We know that people who live in an opposite, lifestyles where they have to, like nurses who have to work at night, we know they're much greater risk for cancer. And so when you throw off these natural rhythms of being in attunement with the world around you, you create the conditions for dis-ease, right? Like the energy doesn't flow properly. Like your body just doesn't have normal capacity. So I hate to go nerdy, but going back to that statement, life is energy plus information plus structure. Energy metabolism, what we first talked about. And then we talked about information, how you consume information, what you listen to, the sounds around you, the people and the words coming from other people's mouths, like the emotions of people around you are contagious. It's energy and motion. You can pick up people's emotions just by being in a room with someone who's angry. So it's so crucial that we start looking at health beyond the basics and actually see it truly holistically, but from a grounded scientific foundation. And that's what I'm trying to bring to the world is like, there's been this world of like the health and wellness world, which has a lot of woo and a lot of really great stuff too. And I've been a big part of that. And then we've got the mainstream world, which is like all drugs and surgery. And then you realize like, oh my God, like there's actually good people and bad people in both industries. There's good science and bad science in both industries. It's about how do we help consumers wade through it all and make more informed decisions. Because not all pharmaceuticals are bad. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but not all of them are bad. And not all of health and wellness is good for people. Like there's all sorts of strange practices that become trendy, like people drinking their own pee. Like I literally heard this summer and I was like, blown away. Like, could not believe I was in a group of wellness people talking about urine.
There's a lot of science, Molly. There's a lot of science on that.
I just do not buy it. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Molly, you don't have to buy it. You're one of the peer-reviewed doctors. I mean, I'm not saying I do it, but you're in therapy. It's, when you get stung by a jellyfish and you pee on it. Why does that actually get the inflammation and all the parasites go away? Right. So I mean, again, this is where we get into the issue where doctors they go, I got to see the science before it's real.
But no.
No, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, but this is where we get an issue where I've talked to a lot of my doctor community members and people. I'm like, look, you can trust a peer-reviewed data, or you can understand empirical data and actually understand how, the science actually works. So these doctors or scientists, or they actually see levels that are, changing in your hormones, your blood test. They're not actually looking at it from a holistic level. So I think, like, yes, there's 4,000 years of science and data and anecdotal data about urine therapy. But to put that in the mainstream and say drink your own urine, like that gets a little tricky for people. I get that. Like, they ferment their urine and they have like urine parties. That's a little dodgy, but like there are things that actually in that it makes it real.
Know that urine therapy
Where's
has been
that
used in
new water?
Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years, and most modern medical science does not support urine therapy as medicine. And so this is what I'm trying to say is like,
No, but there is, like, for example, people who have severe eczema. One of the best treatments, they do this in Europe, and there's a lot of science in Denmark and Sweden and Germany. You literally put urine synthesized. You have your own urine on your skin, and it makes it go away. So, like, I'll show you some studies that will blow your mind. But
show me some studies, buddy. Show me the
I'll
studies.
show you all the I'll show you all the studies. I have access to all the studies. That's
I
what
will
makes
say
me
one
special.
thing though, that like I was really like, I've been very bullish on the microbiome as an important part of medicine and health, and yet most doctors don't understand it at all. But I had to take antibiotics in 2024, and I ended up getting a very minor case of C. diff, which is unfortunately not a good bacteria to overgrow in your gut. And I did purchase a stool transplant from a Canadian supplier and gave myself poop pills. And I did fix my gut. And it was like, it's deodorized, it's purified and deodorized stool, but it's from a stool bank. And I basically gave myself like the heaviest of duty probiotics. So yes, I do think there is some role for these things, but I just haven't found any solid research on urine therapy yet, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Should we classify Taco Bell as a medicine, like, to start with? Does that make sense?
I don't think Taco Bell is a medicine. No.
Like,
No.
like if you need to just like start at square one, you just eat Taco Bell, right?
You're silly. That's funny.
I think that's as legit as urine therapy, though. I'm not drinking pee. I'm sorry.
There is actual clinical research on stool transplantation for specific conditions, and it is approved as a medicine in America.
This has been, like, I think, one of the best debates. I think, like, especially as medicine continues to evolve, we would love to have you guys on even, more frequently as you're available. I also want to show, so comment, guys, what you guys thought about this discussion. And I'm also going to show a clip of Molly so you guys know where to find her. And then same with Misha, if you want to work with Molly. And then also where you can find Misha to do his celebrity chef events, which I recommend because I've been to them, and there's really, really cool people and really good food. So I'm just going to show Molly first, where you can watch one of her good interviews from actually a while ago, because you've been doing this for quite some time.
Dana, while you're setting that up, I'd like to just thank everybody for being here today, the audience and the speakers, Molly and Misha. Great to meet you guys. And of course, Dustin, I have to bounce out of here right at 6:30, but love to see what you're going to show. And if the audience likes this conversation, I didn't think I was going to like this, but I think there's a lot of material here that, it's just not a sexy topic, right? Who wants to talk about health? But actually, I'm not being pitched anything, and I'm getting I would like to talk about energy. Like, is that a real thing? Is the ringing thing, is it really tendonitis, or is it something else? Because there's just a whole lot of topics here.
I have a friend who has cured himself of this ear ringing, and so I'm happy to connect you to him. He spent years. Sounds like tinnitus. Yeah, actually, we should bring him on. Honestly, he's a really interesting guy.
Yeah,
he's a really interesting dude.
Molly, I had a low-level laser therapy. I hired this guy in China to bring it through the borders to put it in my ears. I had horrible ear ringing, and it just got better with time. It was like low-level laser. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If I knew you at the time, I would have called you. I would have just done a consult with you. But there's no
it takes a lot of work to solve your problems when it comes to health, but almost anything can be fixed. Almost, but once you've got full blown, once you've gotten a lot of end organ damage, that's the problem. Is that by the time that you've gotten to the doctor, and you fit the criteria for a diagnosis and a treatment, you're pretty far gone. So the goal is to try to avoid getting sick in the first place and to build so much energy capacity into your body that when you get hit with a major life stressor, that you don't break. So that's, what I teach in my course that I used to teach at Stanford, in my book, The Spark Factor. You can find me on my website, drmolly.co. I've actually built my course and given it away for free now. So if anybody wants to take like a high level college level course on health span,
Cool.
you can get it on my website, drmolly.co.
Well, I think that's really
Everybody
important, Molly.
loves you guys.
Or,
Go,
not
go
to
ahead.
interrupt, but just to really kind of highlight her point, it's, preventative medicine kind of is where this, functional medicine kind of came from. Is how do we prevent, ourselves and our communities from being sick and, dealing with chronic disease and the burden to the economy for our chronic health crisis. But prevention, optimization, and longevity, they're all packaged differently, but they're all pretty much the same thing, right? So the goal really is to, deflame the body, get the body at homeostasis, get your, hormones, acting out, back to normal. And then everyone, it's actually much easier than you think to get healthy. If you really do an elimination diet, you really focus on your input versus your output, it really will, the roadmap isn't impossible. And a lot of people, who are dealing with severe chronic health issues, mental health issues, type 2 diabetes, and so on, there is a way out, right? And I think, following people like Dana, Dr. Molly, this debate series, and myself, there are resources out there, and it's just finding out how to listen to the right people. And again, there's a lot of misinformation in the marketplace, but really kind of have faith in your practitioners and vet them, be able to vet them. And I think, Molly's someone who I trust deeply. And if you guys can keep following her Instagram and her page and her message, she'll give you a lot of tips and tricks to get you out of some health issues.
I'm going to show you guys just a couple minutes of these cool cats. And then also you can let us know where we can find you as well.
Is that what you want us to tell you, or you're going to show a clip?
Yeah, I'm just I'm trying to show it, but sometimes like Cheney's here we go.
I don't hear any sound. Do you guys?
Nope.
No sound.
Maybe in your headphones. I don't know.
I don't hear any sound.
Can you guys hear?
Nothing.
Sound. Data, no sound. Ah.
Oh no, can you guys hear now?
Nope.
That's okay.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm a famous doctor. Nope. You can hear her.
You know what?
Are we doing Mystery Science Theater 3000? That
Yeah, the commentary action. Okay.
Oh my gosh. That would be really fun. Can we do that next time, guys?
Yeah, I think you can probably edit it in too. If you probably can edit it in, maybe in the beginning, before you upload this, or I don't know if you can post this anywhere.
Yeah. You know what? I'll just put it. I'll just put it in. It's no problem. I'll just put it in manually. I don't know why it's doing that. I think because I had my microphone plugged in. Actually,
Yeah.
I can try. I'll just put it in. Look, these guys are really cool. Like Misha, you need to check out his food as well, because it's just like, I don't know, what are you cooking these days? Like lamb rack of ribs, like whatever he can cook.
Yeah, most of our stuff is organic, urban farmed, hyperlocal, regenerative. We work with U.S. Wellness Meats. We work with a lot of kind of local farms in the area. My job is to kind of help people who live in food deserts have access to really good quality food. Because again, it's not so much lack of information. Access is lack of information. So people don't really know where to get the produce and where to get their food. But you can go to Aldi's and get as much produce you can in the world, right? So for me, it's educating people how to eat whole real food, but not sacrifice on flavor, not sacrifice on your food should be enjoyable, right? So that's what I kind of do in one of the only quote unquote biohacking functional nutrition chefs that actually makes the food taste great and not just taste like cardboard.
Yeah, I'll put in the links for you guys. Like there's so many more, not just these two. I'll put in those and we'll edit it into the video too. And then where can people find you? Where can people find you, Molly and Misha? Gary had another meeting at 6:30, so he just had to drop off, but he really liked you guys a lot and we want you to come back. So I hope that you will.
Well, I
This
want to
is
thank Misha
so
for
fun.
inviting me, and didn't actually know what we were going to be doing today because I was just like, what exactly are we debating?
Honestly, we don't know.
And I was like, what are we doing? But I actually loved it, and I just want to second Misha's talents in the kitchen. We met when he was cooking at an event, and I came into the kitchen and I started trying to ask him I was just getting into space, and he was like, "What are you doing? And who are you?" It was really fun, actually. We became friends after that. But yeah, I mean, you can find me at drmolly.co and drmolly.co on Instagram and at Molly Maloof MD on LinkedIn and X. So, and I'll soon be doing more YouTube as well.
Cool.
It's a pleasure
yeah.
meeting both of you. Thank you so much. It was a great discussion. Look
Thank
forward
you
to
so
it.
much.
Thanks, Dustin.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at The Health Warrior Project. My website's thehealthwarriorproject.com. My other company, The Biohouse, is thebiohouse.org. Or you can check out Top Doctor Magazine as I'm editor and chef there, supporting, kind of get the narrative out there, storytelling, and we're going to, support Molly's message and her mission as well. And Molly, you also wrote a book called Spark. Did you mention that?
Spark
Or no?
Factor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Spark
That
Factor.
launched in 2023. So it's a strong treatise on mitochondrial health and metabolic health, and it has a lot of specific information about biohacking for women, because there's a lot of books written about biohacking for men, but they don't always work the same in female bodies because it turns out they're not the same.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to know. Maybe next
What was
time
your
we can talk
What was your
about
Instagram handle?
Was my Instagram drmolly.co. I didn't get the .com because a chiropractor had it, so no
Well,
big deal.
anybody that wants to learn more about Molly's work, I would just suggest going to Amazon and buying that book right now. It's one of the best books I've actually read in the
Thanks,
wellness space.
Misha.
And yeah, a lot of doctors can't write, so she's a good writer. So it's good to have her.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a labor of love. It was a lot of work. But I need to. Hopefully, me and Misha will launch a cookbook together. We've been talking about it, and I think we could do something. I think we should really try to work on this.
Well, I'm already working on it. The proposal's finished. I'll show it to you tomorrow. So
Okay,
we'll
great.
get that going.
I'm going to share a photo of your food. Even if you guys can't hear the sound, you can at least get a taste of it. Can you guys see that?
Oh yeah, his food is insane.
Maybe make it bigger.
Oh, now we can hear it.
Making me hungry.
Now it's smaller.
How's that?
Smaller, but they get it. They're even more small. You go the wrong way. They'll figure it out.
That's good enough.
But yeah, no. So we heal people through food, and a lot of people, again, as Molly said, the gateway to your health is your mouth. So if we can start putting things in your mouth to get you healthier, that'll help your microbiome, your gut, mitochondrial health, and again, you can have your Red Bulls and cigarettes, but as long as we get some good vegetables in you and good quality meat and steak and butter and all the good fats, so we'll take care of you.
Is that Cheney right now?
Was a psyop.
Cheney usually is in the background. This is me trying to be tech.
That's funny.
You guys, the next time when you come on, Cheney will be here and we'll have it all set up.
No problem. No problem.
It was so cool having you. That was super fun.
Perfect. Amazing.
Yeah. Come on again. I'll put all their links below. So make sure you follow them. Buy Molly's book. Sign up.
Dana, are you coming to any conferences like Eudaimonia or A4M?
I can't because I'm going to be in Amsterdam at the Bitcoin conference.
Oh, well.
It's the same exact
way
date.
more fun.
I really, really want to go to Eudaimonia, or
You
I
should
can never
come.
say. I really want to. You're
Okay.
speaking there, right?
Yeah.
And then Misha, you're not able to make it.
No, we might get a booth, but yeah, she's speaking.
If you were to wrap up what that event is for people who really like this health stuff, how do you describe? I mean, it's like the top.
Eudaimonia is like one of the newer conferences around health that's trying to bring people into the future through getting together some of the very best voices in medicine and health and wellness today. But the thing I love about this event is the expo. They featured some of the absolute best brands and products. And I've been to a lot of biohacking conferences, and usually I don't leave feeling amazing, but it was the first kind of health and wellness conference where I left feeling better than I went in, which is when you're trying all these new products and drinking all these concoctions and doing all these things, usually it's too confusing to your body. But this conference they've really curated the speakers, and they've really curated the products in the booth. So there's this massive expo, tons of speakers, and really high quality content, like truly strong intellectual content around health that's not just service level.
Yeah. Well, is it going to be recorded?
Yeah,
too, or
I think
no?
I think they'll have things recorded online, but it's in West Palm Beach. They're gonna every year they're gonna get bigger and bigger until it ends up being like a South by Southwest version of health. So they're trying to build this into like a full-on festival for West Palm Beach and they're partnering with the city of West Palm Beach. So it's a really big initiative.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is like it's the best of the best for those in health. Like, not everybody is invited to just go speak there. So, like, yeah, I definitely want to go. I mean, I will. I guess I have to go next year. Now,
let's all hang out and do some recordings there.
I think we should. Yeah, guys, comment below if you like this stream so they come back again, because like they're my favorite. And yeah, follow them. Just do everything they say. You'll be super healthy. You'll live forever. We can all live to 200 together.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Bye.
And really quick, Dana, how do we have access to this? Is it going to be on YouTube? Is it going to be
Yeah. I mean, like this is like live now, and then it's going to be on YouTube. I'll send you the link.
All right, send me the link, girl.
Yeah.
You did a great job, host. Proud of you.
Thank you. Bye, Misha.
All right, we'll be in touch. We'll get you healthy, and I think it's really funny actually that Dustin is really in